Hi, the name is Bliss Sibiya from the X Factored Youth. X Factored Youth is a gang, it's an organization, it's a community of people who want to pursue excellence, exceptionality, extraordinariness, people who want to exceed expectations or go the extra mile and execute with the best of their abilities. Now, I want to come into your space today and speak about volunteering. I was blessed in the year 2019-2020 to be able to go to Germany and contribute myself as a volunteer at a kindergarten. How that has assisted me or how that has helped me shape my thinking is that I approach things with an international approach, seeing the global perspective of things. South Africa, by definition, is considered a third world country. So me being in a first world country for a year gave me the opportunity to see what first world thoughts are, first world opinions are, and first world infrastructure is like. So when I came back, how I viewed things, especially in the business world, my background before I was a volunteer, I studied business. So viewing things from a business perspective, I was able to see opportunities. I did not have the funding in that time, but I had a vision, and that vision has taken me forward. So one of the aspects that I want to speak about, which is one of many aspects, is the language side. Being able to volunteer abroad, I was able to learn the German language. I am not fluent, but I'm able to hold some form of conversation. Now, how that has helped me is that when I network, when I speak with first world people, I can not only speak to them in English, which is, and English is part of the first world side from England, and then there's German, and there's French, then there's Portuguese, and all these other European languages. I'm able to communicate in the German language, which means I'm able to touch German communities or people who I speak to in German. That alone gives a person a different perspective of who you are. And me taking myself I wanted to immerse myself in the German culture. I wanted to integrate myself forcefully because I really wanted to understand what makes a German tick. Living in Germany, seeing how Germans operate, seeing how they view things. You get to see that South Africa has so much potential, so much first world potential, but we're just sleeping on the abilities that we have. So I want to encourage young people to volunteer abroad. Sometimes it doesn't even have to be abroad, but the idea is to volunteer somewhere outside of South Africa so that we are able to see what advantages we have as well as what disadvantages we have. I'll give you an example. I was also blessed to, go to Mozambique on vacation, and just leaving Swaziland and getting into the other side of Mozambique, you can immediately feel the difference. You can immediately feel that you're not in SA, you're not in the Kingdom of Eswatini. It's a different vibe. You hear the Portuguese language, you hear Shangaan, you hear all these different languages, and immediately, mentally, it puts you in a different space. You don't realize it until later on when you really get to sit down and you feel that, no, you're different. That's the same feeling you get as soon as you land in, for example, Europe. When you land in Germany, that you feel that things are different. And your body automatically tries to adapt to it because they understand that it's not the same space that you are in. So your whole psyche, your whole mental changes. And that's what we want to encourage people to do. We want to encourage people to get out of their zone, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Going back to Germany, when I was there, the first 3 months was essentially difficult because I was still learning the German language. But when all that is done, when you're able to comprehend, when you're able to have conversations with people in German, you get to realize that being uncomfortable was worth it because you did not realize that you have the capabilities, that your brain is able to ensure that by any means necessary, you're going to learn this language. You need those type of environments. You need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's just something that we have to do. And great people, excellent people, extraordinary people, they know how to do this. They know how to achieve this. There's people such as, the great people, Elon Musk. These people push boundaries. Jeff Bezos. In Africa, there's Aliko Dangote. There's Patrice Motsepe. All these people that are pushing boundaries, especially people of color, where they're pushing boundaries, they're taking market share in different places. They're showing us that we are able to do what we have to do. We are able to be beasts, essentially, in whatever it is that we want to achieve. In sports, there are people that have pushed boundaries such as Usain Bolt. There's just a lot of people that are taking spaces, that are pushing boundaries, that have been comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that is a major part when we speak about X-Factor youth, when we speak about excellence, when we speak about being extraordinary. We need to also understand that we just have to understand that being uncomfortable is it. It's one of those things, because when you are uncomfortable, that is when you get to learn to be comfortable. Let's look at it, for example, when you go to gym, when you work out, when you lifting those heavy weights, your arms get sore, your muscle tears, but you still carry on going. And then 2-3 weeks down the line, you can see the difference, but you had to go through that pain. You had to be uncomfortable and keep lifting. That's exactly what it is with volunteering. Volunteering, you don't exactly get to be placed in the best spaces, but you need to do what you got to do. You need to squeeze those lemons. You need to take advantage of that, because when you come back to a space where you are comfortable, you get to see how much things you've learned, how many things you've done, the networks that you have created. For me, I can be in South Africa now and I can still communicate with some people from Germany. I can, greet them, hello, guten Tag, wie geht's? And then speak about something. And then after that, we can still have a communication. If I want to set up a business in Germany, I know exactly who to call, what the procedure is, because I've immersed myself in that environment. I am still able to communicate with certain people. And that's what people tend to forget. In South Africa, especially, I'm a Zulu. I'm from the Zulu background. Zulu, they do not want to travel. They are comfortable in Natali or in Johannesburg, but they don't want to go beyond that. Whereas you look at people such as Zimbabweans, Zimbabweans travel. You look at Nigerians, Ghanaians, these people travel because they see the opportunity in traveling. And that is why they have businesses that you kind of ask yourself, how did you set that up? But it's because they've seen the world. They've seen how different environments operate. They've seen how different environments engage. And because of that, they can come back to a third world country, set up a first world type business. And then people can look at them and say they are pioneers. But no, they just simply saw a business model somewhere in Germany, in Amsterdam, and they brought it back to Africa, and they've just made it more African. But it's a perfect business model, and traveling really gets to open your mind to see what is possible. That is another important thing, seeing what is possible out there. Because if you are confined in one space, in one area, you don't know what is possible. You don't know that there's, for example, flying cars, but you need to be willing to go out there to experience, to see, to absorb, and then sit down and just think about the things that are out there. And when you go back, just see how you can contribute. Travel, travel, travel. As Zulu, you must travel. As an African, as a South African, you must travel. I have a friend who is in Thüringen, in Germany, and he comes from Inland, and he decided to study abroad in Ilmenau, the University of Ilmenau. And he says that there's not one South African in the university that he's in. It's only him. But you see Ghanaians, you see people from Uganda, you see people from Tanzania, but there aren't any South Africans. So you ask yourself, why aren't South Africans traveling? Why aren't we going out to seeing these places? Why is it very few South Africans, as compared to Nigerian? You'll find a Nigerian anywhere and everywhere. You even find them in Iceland. You'll find them in Antarctica. They say Nigerians say if a Nigerian is not in that place, then that place is not the one. Because Nigerians have this tendency to survive wherever it is that they are in. They immerse themselves. I've spoken to so many Nigerians in Germany that have mastered the German language, and you're just like, hey, Buddha, how? How did you learn the language? It's like, no, you just have to learn to adapt. Nigerians have learned to adapt. You can love them or hate them. That's really up to you. But what you can learn from Nigerians and West Africans, or people who are not South African, is that they travel, they see the world, they engage with the world, they integrate themselves in the world. And because of that, they have a higher chance of succeeding, they have a higher chance of achieving way more than an average African, because it's the traveling aspect. In order for you to set up a business and to know your market, people travel. There's businesses that have research and development where they say, before we try anything, before there's an idea that we want to implement, go to a different country and see if it's being done. If it's being done there, do your research and see if the results are likely to be what results we want to have. If it doesn't work, then we don't have to go through with it, because we are a third world country. And if we want to do something magnificent, let's travel. Let's go see what the first world is up to. Let's explore and then come back and see what great things we can do. So whether it's through volunteering, whether it's through being an au pair, any opportunity to go out into the world, take it. Do not be afraid of language barriers. Because you're in Germany, you don't want to speak the German language, or you can't speak German. Listen, when I went, I couldn't speak a word of German, but I learned it. It's an acquired skill. And that is something that I'm grateful for. I can take it through to the rest of my life. Whenever I go to Germany, whenever I go to Austria, whenever I go to Switzerland, whenever I can communicate with the German, when there's an opportunity to be with the German, I can speak the language. And that immediately changes. It switches their mind, because it's like, hey, you're an African person, you're from South Africa, but you're fluent in this language. How? You create interest. So go out into the world as a volunteer or as an au pair, whatever it is, whatever excuse to go out. Travel, travel, travel. As an African man, as a black person, as a South African, as Zulu, you can break it down to whatever demographic. Go out into the world and experience the world any way that you can, because you will see the results. You will see what amazing things you can do. Sometimes you might not even be able to explain it, but it's just in the mind. Subconsciously you change from just leaving the borders that you come from. So travel, travel, travel. So as X Factor Youth, we create those opportunities. There's an organization called SageNet, which stands for the South African German Exchange Network, which X Factor Youth is a member of. So if you want to have the opportunity to volunteer in Germany, become a member of the X Factor Youth, and we will send you, application forms of any opportunities to go volunteer in Germany. So, yeah, become a member of X Factor Youth. That is the first step. Become a member, and we will definitely give you opportunities to go out there, to go to Germany, to experience, and to come back and set up businesses or set up organizations where you can leverage the networks that you have created. So, ladies and gentlemen, go out there, volunteer, go out there, contribute, go out there and learn, go out there and just be great. And when you come back, be really looking forward to hear what amazing things you've learned and what amazing things you were able to do from the knowledge that you have acquired. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bliss Sibiya from the X Factor Youth, signing out.